Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is where you are. I'd like to share a little digital transformation project I worked on many years ago with one of the big five, Deloitte. This is an interesting one. I'll try and make it quick and under maybe 3 minutes, hopefully, but I thought this was an interesting topic and the experience I had on this project, I just wanted to share with you. Deloitte had won a contract to an oil and services company to review their service department within this oil and gas company. It was a petroleum company, and there was a division called the General Services Department, and they were responsible for offering catering to all the employees, which were in the thousands of employees. Apparently, a lot of the employees were not happy with the service, so they outsourced this project, and Deloitte won the project to come in and review the processes and what's going on. To cut the story short, Deloitte did come in and worked on a 7-month project, and they restructured their, how to say, the GSD, General Services Department. They restructured it into 3 key processes. If I'm not mistaken, the 3 major processes were order fulfillment, contract, outsourcing contracts, and there was another one, it'll come to my mind in a bit. And this was presented to the management of the oil sector, and the deliverables were handed out. So that was phase 1 of the project. Phase 2 of the project, where I come in, was to automate this what was designed earlier on. And I came on board as a freelancer to look at the automation. And when I came on board, what I had at my disposal was some of the documentation that was prepared by the first phase, and I had to get extremely creative in working on an automation. At that time, they had Oracle and financials, and they were using Maximo to address all the service requests that were pertaining to the refinery. So I started to gather I did a fact finding, gathered a lot of intelligence. Meanwhile, on the same time, a colleague of mine in Deloitte was working on the HR side, where he had to identify the employees that would be suitable to take on the new role. So previously, the company had, let's say, 80 employees in the General Services Department, and when Deloitte revamped the process, there was going to be a reduction in the staff, but this was not shared with the oil company to begin with. In the first phase, the process was revamped, and the second phase, they were going to come and address the HR organization change aspect of it. Now, as I was sharing the room with the colleague, and I was working on the automation part, and we came to a discussion that from the existing 80 people, there was a shortlisting, and all they needed to handle the new revamped process was 40. So half the staff would basically be redundant. And again, this was not shared with the client. I will take a pause now a bit so I can take a breather. Yes, I did cross my 3 minutes. I'm on minute maybe going into minute 5. But if you wanna watch it in 3 minutes, you can always speed it up. This was not shared by clients. So as we were working on the presentation, and I was working on the automation part, trying to figure out how to integrate the Maximo with the Oracle to the best of the use, and how they would utilize spend analysis on the project, the procurement for the oil company, how they would utilize the automation. Again, on the automation side, they only had maybe 60 or 70% of the automation was in place, which had to be reconfigured, and some of it re-implemented. And there was some new additional automation that would have been required, where maybe they'd have to secure a third-party tool for spend analysis, like at that time it was Ariba, which is now I think purchased by Salesforce, and then a lot of customization for the processes which would have to be developed. Our job was not to deliver the automation. Our job was to design the automation so they can go ahead and meet up with some software developers or vendors to secure this. We were meant to recommend. So that was the easy part that I was working on. But back to the part where we were reviewing the organizational change. I remember I worked on that along with my colleague working on HR. And when we were screening the employees, and like I said, we needed 40 people. One of the first criteria we had to look at is, okay, what is the competency of the employees? So if I remember, one of them was, okay, do they have a degree? So we got rid of those that don't have a degree. Do they speak English? You'd be surprised. We got rid of those. So we started to filter out, and we were left with, we were short maybe by about 10 people. We got 30 people that we thought would be suitable to work in each of the processes. And we had 3 major processes, and there would be 3 department heads. And then we had to identify, pick the best 10 from the remainder, which means now we had chosen 40 people that would remain on board with the new restructured process. And now here comes the fun part. Okay, now here comes the fun part. It was a meeting was held with the management and the Deloitte senior project manager working on the project and the transformation project. We all attended the meeting. I recall I was sitting with one of the partners of Deloitte. He was sitting on my left, and my project manager was on my right, and other members were on the table, plus the head of the GS department, General Service Department of the refinery, plus some other managers were there. And the presentation started to go along and knew how it was, we were restructuring, etc., etc. Remember, this was phase 2 of what took place a few months ago, where the process was redesigned. When we reached the slide where we're showing the process, the new revamped processes, we will need 40 people. The look on the general manager's face of the general service department was like shocking. I'll never forget this. He said, excuse me, to the partner who was with me, he said, but you're telling me that you revamped the process and now we only need 40 people. So the partner of Deloitte said, yes, that's what it is. We improved, we re-engineered, we revamped, and we've also identified those people that we think should take over and manage and operate in the new setup. And this was the one of the funniest. Well, I thought it was funny, and I still think it's funny. Remarks that the general manager said. And I think it's funny because it was not conveyed earlier on, about 12 months ago, because it was a 7-month project and another 7-month project, and I think we were in the 6th month of the last phase, and there was 1 month left. And so a lot of time was being invested and working on the project, and it was only at that moment in this meeting where we were presenting the final solution that they came to know that 50% of the staff would not be needed. And the funniest thing that the guy said, the general manager said, but we cannot. It is the law in Kuwait. We cannot fire a Kuwaiti from his job, and that I thought was funny. And the partner said, "Yeah, but we didn't come in here uh, to to fire people. That's our job is to identify the new organization that would take over, and we shortlisted based on the qualifications and the skills of the existing people. Nationality was never part of the criteria." So. It got quite heated, the argument, and then when everyone was quiet, I said, it was one of my first freelance job with one of the big four. I said, "Excuse me, why don't we create a comatose department and put these people there?" Now, you would probably smile or laugh at this, but at that time, the manager said, "Excuse me, yeah, that's a good idea." I don't think he understood the word comatose. Uh, then I remember the partner, he whispered me and he said, "Ghassan, are you serious? What are you saying?" I said, "Well, if we can't fire people and we want the process to continue for improving and you have redundant, so create another department for them and we can come up with something for them to do." And when I told the partner, I said, "That could be another project where we can make money out of it." And he smiled and he said, "Interesting." And that's what happened. We actually ended the discussion, and the discussions were to be, "Okay, we like the solution, but please come with us with another proposal. What are you going to do with the rest of the team?" So I just wanted to share this. 15 minutes, I think it's been now. So much for my plan of 3 minutes of what happened in this digital transformation, which was a two-phase project with one of the big 4 or 5 consultants. And I'll never forget that. I thought that was quite. I was trying to say I thought that was quite a funny story and an interesting finale to share with you. And thank you for taking time to listen to this. The story is true. Maybe I got the month wrong. How many months? Maybe the first project phase was 7 months, and the automation was 4 months. But you get the overall picture. And thank you very much.